Hey, what's up, everyone? Spark 369. What is up? Yeah, this is our next iteration. Hopefully, I have my audio working. Military Mike, my man, what's up? Hopefully the audio is working on this iteration. We've been having a couple of issues the last couple of weeks where we haven't been able to hear me. For some reason, I think I got it fixed. Um, we'll see how it goes. Let me know if y'all can hear me, if it comes through clearly. But this iteration, this one is just mostly going to be questions. Anybody that pops in, tunes in, has any questions and stuff like that, or want to look into anything in specific. I don't have much of a. I'll say I don't have much of an agenda for today. All right, appreciate that, Mike. Don't have much of an agenda today for topics wise. Um, it's just literally people got questions. We'll go over stuff. I haven't really had much stuff. School started back up, so haven't really had much time to do it. I've been trying to work on shorts, the shorts I've been making, and just trying to create actual videos that tie into a lot of those shorts. Because a lot of those shorts is like just with the shorts, you could only do 60 seconds of information. So it's just trying to get a snippet of people giving them information. The latest one was the electricity efficiency mortgage, which is basically meant for veterans or service members. If they want to use the VA loan, they can use a energy. It's like an energy clause that's within the VA system for the VA loan. So basically, it allows you to take up to. Well, I'm not gonna say it allows you to do because you still have to go through the verification process. But basically, let's say you are purchasing a new home. If you're purchasing a new home, what's going to happen is that you are able to fix the home to a certain extent on the items available to you. So basically, let's say if you have an older home and you want to put in new windows. If you want to put in new windows, you could do so, but you have to have like a justification. So there's like three different levels of it when it comes to the electric efficiency mortgage, which is the clause within the VA loan. So if it's something that's within $0 through $3,000 worth of like fixes or changes that is basically energy efficient, that it basically can be put on top of your mortgage loan. So let's say you took out a home loan for like 400,000. And remember, with the VA loan, you're not putting down a down payment to begin with. So what's going to happen is you're going to put the loan is going to be a 400,000, but let's say you want to put new windows, and your windows are going to cost you, let's say 2,500 to change them all out and stuff like that. You can add that 2,500 on top of the 400,000. So now your loan would be for 400,000, 2,500. If you get what I'm saying. So basically, you're just adding it on top, but you don't have to put any down payment towards it. So it's basically a way of being able to make your home energy efficient, or a better way of making it energy efficient while doing so without having to pay the out-of-pocket costs. It just gets tied into your mortgage. So you can redo your windows. So if you have an older home and you want to get better windows, which basically will keep the heat in, keep the cold in, depending on the season, that's something you can look into. Let me just pull it up. Let's just change it to this real quick. Why does that pop up? Why is it this one? Hold on, give me a sec, yo. There we go. So I have that. So this is basically, forgive me, this is a touchy question for you, but who do you think would be better for veterans, Trump or Harris? Oh, this is a Mike. So what I've been doing lately is I've been on TikTok a lot, and I've been streaming on there, and I've been asking this question, just like which one of the two is better or not. Uh, the issue I have, like, so let's say with Donald Trump. With Donald Trump, the thing is he has a history of saying things about veterans that kind of rubs me the wrong way. The fact that he called disabled veterans and sometimes the suckers and losers, that was an issue for me. The fact that he talked crap about John McCain, when he was a prisoner of war, that was an issue to me. Another issue being that when he stated that the Medal of Freedom is actually better than the Medal of Honor. That one really ticked me off a bit. Because because that statement was basically made, but he made it in a manner like saying that the Medal of Freedom was better than the Medal of Honor, but the Medal of Honor goes to people that are like going above and beyond, willing to sacrifice their lives for the betterment and the safety of their team. So that one, it was just like with that. When it comes to Harris, Harris hasn't said anything negative towards veterans that has been come out. Nobody's been able to say anything against her towards that. But at the same time, it's just like then when you start looking at like policies, start looking at the different policies that they've created. Uh, Under the Biden administration, they developed the PACT Act. That didn't happen during the Trump policy thing. Trump didn't really do much. What basically Trump did for the veteran, for veterans was basically like the being able for you to choose to get care outside of the VA, which I just saw a report not long ago that is basically saying that it was just like it's a third party thing, and then it's like it's a mess, and it's just like money is being wasted on there just because of that. Because you got to remember, like it is a good thing. Like yes, you can go get your own care, but the thing is, you still have to get a referral through the VA. So you still have to go through the VA to basically be able to say like, hey, I want to be able to go see this doctor, or I want to be able to go see that doctor, or whatever the case may be. um they want to make it that you are talking, you have to still go through the VA to be able to get that information and get a referral to an outside doctor. Now the difference is that it's not that you can just see any doctor, and that's what people get confused with. It's just like, oh, you can go. No, it still has to be a doctor that is within the VA system. So it has to be a VA contracted provider. So let's say if if your area doesn't have people that has many doctors that are like, or clinics or whatever that are in the VA network, you won't be able to use them. So it's not like they made it like, oh, you can go and you could just go to your private doctor and get it done like that. Now, if that would have been the case, that would have been different, because then you would be going to your private doctor. You're still going to some other outside entity, which is contracted through the VA. But at the same time, it's just like money is being put into these contractors and stuff like that in these contracts, where some of them ain't providing the best of care. Some of them do good, some of them don't. Some of them will provide you with great care, some of them won't. But at the same time, that clinic is still under contract. So let's say you sign a contract for 3 years for the orthopedics, and this orthopedics is trash, and everybody goes to them, and it's just like it's trash. That person is still going to get paid for 3 years, no matter what, if it's good or bad service. You can report that it's bad service, but at the same time, a contract was placed with them for 3 years. Now, let's say everybody complains and says it's a bad organization or a bad place. That money's being spent there regardless. So now some people may not even want to go there because it's like, look, I went the first time and it was terrible, and they may not want to go again. So that they're gonna lose out on that, and that's gonna be an issue where people don't understand. He did something for the homeless community. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I know he did provide something. Trump did sign and implement the Forever GI Bill, allowing veterans to use their. See, so that's the one thing. I was just like that is a benefit, but at the same time, with a lot of those, it's just like you weren't. A lot of the stipulations with that was also the Montgomery GI Bill, which gave you that like that criteria where you had to use it by a certain point. With the GI Bill, the veteran, I think it was up to like what 20 years or something that they had to use it at some point. And it's kind of difficult for people because the thing is most people look, if they're gonna go to school, they're gonna go to school. It's very rare for people to decide after like 15 or 20 years, you know what, it's time for me to go to school. Now, is it a good thing? Yes. But at the same time, what I would rather see, instead of it just being a forever GI Bill, make it that I can transfer it over to my dependents. Make that a bill. Don't make it as an incentive that you have to re-up in the military for 4 years to then be able to transfer it. If you were able to retire from the military, you should be able to transfer it. Now, I'm not too sure if you can do that. You might have to find out for me with that one. Um, about being able to retire and then pass on your GI Bill. Cause like in service, I did my contract and I thought that I thought like when I went through the process of reenlisting, I had mentioned it to to the career counselor, but I guess he didn't do the paperwork or whatever the case. I reenlisted for those 4 years to get or have the ability to transfer it over to my dependents, and it wasn't there. That wasn't there. So I think that I think is a benefit. It is good that it's like hey, forever that you can use it. I was just like, yes, that is a benefit. I give him that. That's another one he did do. But it's just the way he goes about it, and then the whole Project 2025 thing is also a thing. Signed and implemented the Haven Act to ensure that veterans who have declared bankruptcy don't lose their disability payments. That's a plus. Also, the thing is like what I'll say is just like the president don't do any of this stuff, and that's what I think it goes to. It's just like a lot of this stuff was implemented there. Like the whole thing with the PACT Act, it was under the Biden administration. Biden didn't have nothing to do with that shit. Neither did Harris. It's those representatives and those senators that are actually the people in the veteran affairs committees in the House and in the Senate. Those are the ones that create this stuff. They just happen to be signed by whoever's sitting in office. So that's why it's just like neither one of them has like dedicated it to themselves to do it. It's mostly that somebody within the administration has done it, which is somebody in Congress that does it. Um, the biggest thing, like with me, the reason I like Harris more is because of the fact that Tim Walz actually made and passed legislation in his state for veterans. So that gives me a better feeling of Harris because then it's just like, look, you have a person that was also in office as a governor and is a veteran and actually created and made changes. Now, I'm not too sure what it was he did, but I know there's talk about him creating policies and stuff that benefit veterans in his state. So when you have that backing, that's one thing. With JD Vance, he's a veteran also, but at the same time, this dude has only been in the Senate for 2 years. So he hasn't been in office very long or in basically in a political atmosphere for too long. And he hasn't really done anything for veterans in the like. The fact that he was already going and talking shit about Tim Walz, that was already an issue to me. Because he's trying to gain a way to show that his how could I put it? Like him being in service was better than Tim Walz being in service. And I don't care what anybody says, there's no comparison to both of those. Tim Walz exceeds this dude's capabilities by a lot. This dude actually, Tim Walz made it to Sergeant Major. Waltz made it to corporal and didn't have no responsibility, didn't lead anybody in the military, stuff like that. And he was a PAO officer at that also. So he wasn't with teams. He wasn't like that. He was probably working with one staff sergeant, one sergeant first class, and that was his job, basically, to be a PAO. But that's why it's just like when it comes to it, it's just like at least Tim Walz has done something there, so he's at least part of that party. I'm not saying that they're gonna do anything, but like the PACT Act was done by Mike Takano, which is a Democratic representative, House of Representatives in the state of California. He was the one that basically sponsored the PACT Act. Wasn't Biden, wasn't Harris and stuff like that. It was somebody, it's those representatives and those states. So that's why I tell people it's just like for either one of these two, it was just like for voting for either one, it's just like I don't see the benefit. No, it's just like that's the thing. The issue being is just like because that's what I say. I've been dealing with both of them. Like trust me, on TikTok, these conversations is just like I have to keep myself level headed because some people are just ignorant. Some people the education system failed them. Some people are just dumb, plain out and simple. And it's just like the stuff that people come out with and the stuff that people talk about. It's stuff that's just like trying to just belittle people. It's just like all these policies are not good. All these policies are not bad. But it's just like if it's something that can help improve some part of this country and not just the minority of the country, I think it's a benefit to the country to be able to do that. The issue is that sometimes it's just like we deal with stuff that is just like we have people doing stuff and they're not really leading. They're not really making change. Um with Trump, I just have an issue with it. It's just like this dude has benefited himself a good amount of the time. Um Making sure that those taxes got cut benefited him the most, and a lot of people don't realize that. That is just like if you're the wealthiest president ever, you're a billionaire, you gave yourself a tax cut, and then you own corporations, which is how you got your billions, you gave yourself another tax cut. So you basically double tax cut yourself in that stuff. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just like when it comes to veteran stuff, like, and that's what I tell most of the people on TikTok. I was just look, I don't really care for any one of these policies unless it's affecting veterans. Cause a lot of the stuff is just like the problem being, Mike, is just like they're tying in a lot of like Project 2025. Like they're gonna say, yeah, Trump doesn't know about it, doesn't hear. I don't really care to hear that. My issue is that the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025 is still something that is meant for the Republican Party. So people don't, a lot of veterans have not taken the time to actually read Project 2025 and see what the implementations are for veterans. Now there's certain things that they did put in there that was actually good. They talked about if service members send a fully developed claim, they should get a response within 30 days. So basically, if you have your information, you have your documentation, all that stuff, and it shows it, fully developed claim, you'll get it. They want you to get basically an answer within 30 days. The other thing that people don't realize is just like people will read that because that's like one of the first things, but then they overlook the part about the secondaries. So I know a lot of veterans, they got to 100% because of their secondary claims. A lot of them didn't get there just because of their original claims. A lot of veterans get to their secondary claims or get to that 100% off of secondary claims. They tie their back issues to this, or their migraines to this, or tinnitus to this, or their PTSD to this. And it's just like, that's what it is. With Project 2025, they're basically eliminating all those secondary things. So all those secondary claims basically go out the window with Project 2025. So basically, let's say you have PTSD, right? And you are claiming like insomnia off of it, or you get migraines from your PTSD, or better yet, like tinnitus. Tinnitus is usually one of those that gets spread through a bunch of things, because tinnitus can give you migraines, tinnitus can give you insomnia. So let's say you got approved for tinnitus. Now, if you're trying to claim a secondary as you're getting migraines from it, or your insomnia, or you're getting insomnia because of tinnitus, with Project 2025, if that were to be implemented, you can no longer claim that. Yeah, I look, I understand how people say that people made more money, and that's one thing I understand. The other thing is that like when people say that, what I like to tell people also is that a lot of the stuff that we went through during the Trump administration when it came to us having more money and the economy going well was because of the stuff that Obama implemented while he was getting out of office. So all those policies and stuff like that, because you got to remember, Obama inherited Bush's thing, which gave all those tax cuts. George Bush gave all those tax cuts, and once those tax cuts hit, the economy started going down. We went into a recession. Obama came in, started taxing the rich again, started bringing taxes up, and the economy started getting better. The economy got better during Trump's administration while it took place. So all the stuff that Trump says he claims like he had the best economy and stuff like that. That was all off of Barack Obama's policies that he implemented, and then Trump ran with those. Then the same thing happened like with George Bush and Donald Trump. Donald Trump instituted tax cuts, which cut the money that was coming in back into the country. The deficit blew up again. All that happened, and now we're feeling those effects. So all that inflation, all that stuff, it just came through because of those tax cuts being put into place. It's the same process that happens again and again, but is that people don't put those together because they just think about, they don't really think about those past years. And a lot of this newer generation, the younger generation, doesn't know what happened because most people don't realize that we were in a surplus during Bill Clinton. We actually had we actually had more money than we were losing as a country. George Bush saw that. He implemented tax cuts. The deficit started rising like crazy because the amount of taxes weren't coming back in. Obama came in, taxes up, economy started climbing up again. Donald Trump came, put his tax cuts, economy started slipping again. Now Joe Biden, same thing, but the economy isn't doing well for everyone because inflation hit. But the stock market is at record highs. Everything else is up in value. And it's just like, and you feel the eugenics behind abortion and Planned Parenthood. Like, with that, Mike, the thing is just like, I know everybody has their own views and they have their right to have their own views when it comes to that. But it's just like, a lot of the stuff is being blamed on the Democrats or the Republicans. And the thing is a lot of the times, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the times Republicans are the ones that also do a lot of the stuff that ends up hurting the country. Like one of the main things is just like, what bothers me about Republicans is that Republicans sometimes will always say they're for the kids. They want to take care of the kids. They want to do all this stuff, right? But then it's just like, so then when the child tax credit, which everybody took advantage of and everybody used basically while filing taxes for kids, they decided not to extend it. They decided that it should not be extended. So basically, all that child tax credit that people were going to file for this coming year is not going to happen. Why? Because they decided not to extend the child tax credit. Stuff like that. When it came to like the border stuff, actually fixing and having a resolution to the border, which I tell people, everybody always talks about the border is only an issue every 4 years when it comes to presidential elections because the Republicans love talking about it. The problem being the border has not been fixed since the border was created. We've had people coming into this country illegally through the border. Now, did Biden do a number on it? Yes. But the world also was going through a lot of shit, and there was a lot of turmoil in South America where a lot of these people were just leaving and trying to come up here. So that's one thing that has nothing to do with the states, but the fact that the border wasn't taken care of in a better manner, you could say it's on Biden. But the border has been an issue since then. The same numbers that Donald Trump had while he was in office, same numbers that Barack Obama had. The numbers were exactly the same almost with the people coming in. It's just during Biden, this shit went crazy. But look at the times all over the world. Everybody's trying to make an extra dollar. When you live in a third world country, shit, a lot of people that come over here work, and they send their money back to their country. Why? Because their money's worth more. Jonas was really happy. Margaret Sanger used abortions to attempt to erase black people from existence. But that's the thing. You gotta like, Mike, with that, it's just like that has happened multiple times, and that's not only with black people. That has happened like with Puerto Rico. I forget what the operation was called, but basically they were like taking away the ability for Puerto Rican women to get pregnant. Is it euthanized? I think. And they did that to Puerto Rican women. That was the United States that did that. So like this country has done a lot of stuff that we shouldn't even be proud of, but they've done stuff like that. When it comes to the Planned Parenthood and stuff like that, you got to remember that black people are not the only people that are getting abortions. This also goes to white people. Like all ethnic groups are trying to get abortions. The thing is, it's just like that's the thing. Also, it is a woman's body, and it was just like there's no right for anybody to say what a woman does, whether it's by religious belief or a law. That's a woman's body. Like nobody tells a person what to do with their body, with their life and stuff like that. So to be able to tell somebody that is one thing. But then I have a question for you, Mike, then is just like, because this is the thing I always ask people that have an issue with it. And it's usually I go towards males saying it. Because when it's a female that's saying that she doesn't like abortion and she can explain it, it's a woman. So she's the one that's going to be dealing with it. For a male, I ask like, okay, because a lot of the males, I would say, not gonna say all, but a good amount are gun owners, right? So if you're a gun owner and you're against abortion, so you're okay with a law being instituted towards women to do something with their body. But then if somebody tells that person, that gun owner, oh, I'm gonna take your Second Amendment right and I'm gonna take your guns away, then it's an uproar. So how is that equal? So how is it that you can take away guns, or you're mad at the fact that the government will mention taking away guns, which will never happen in this country, but that's something that always interests me. It was just like, so you're okay with a woman being told what to do with her body, but it's not okay for the government to tell you you can't have guns. So which one is it? Because it's two different things where it's just like it's the privacy of the own person, the privacy like a gun is just property. A gun isn't even a part of you. Now it's just like, see, but that's the thing, Mike. Not everybody believes in God. Not everybody's God is the same. Shit, a lot of the religions don't even have the same thought process, and they all come from the same God, but they still have different beliefs within that same God. Because you have all these different like breakdowns. Christians, you got the Latter-day Saints, you have all that stuff. And it's just like when you look at it like that, it's just like religion is one thing, but then the other thing is that that's why there's a separation of church and state. So then now you're starting to mix that also again. So that's why it's just like it's difficult for me to say that, because the thing is it's hard for me to understand that people want to put religion on people and say that this is the reason why, but not everybody follows that religion. So if that's your religious belief, I would understand you not wanting to go through with it. But if a person doesn't believe in that religion and doesn't have any faith, or whatever the case may be, they shouldn't be entitled to follow your belief when that's not it. It's the same thing of being able to vote. Just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean I have to vote the same way you do. So that's why it's like it's a tricky situation, because it's just like a lot of people will say like, hey, you have your religious beliefs. Cool. That's understandable. Nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, your religious beliefs should not dictate somebody else's life if they don't believe in that religious belief. See, but see, Mike, like I said, that's your belief. That's your belief. That a belief in God is much safer than a no God at all. Your belief and your faith in God is much stronger than somebody else's. But that doesn't mean that their belief is wrong because they don't believe in what you believe. That's that, you see what I'm saying? So that's why it's always difficult for me to deal with that. But then it's just like the belief system is one thing that changes. It was just like if the government decided to have a separation between church and state, they did that for a reason. And then if religious beliefs are the ones that are making these changes towards laws, then there's that gray area where it's just like, where does the belief system stop? Because it's just like I'll say that, like with the whole Israel and Gaza and Palestine thing, when you see it like that, the claim is basically that's their land, but they never had that land in the first place. So you see what I'm saying? So it's just like, but that's the belief, is that that was their land. That land was not created until 1948. So they didn't have a land before that. But then, according to the belief, is that that's their land and they should occupy that land. But that land wasn't created till 1948. So right now, what we're dealing with in the Middle East is off of a claim of somebody's belief that it's theirs, when it could be, it might not be. But the stuff that's going on within there, that's because of a belief. And that's when it comes to just like I said, when I have these conversations on TikTok, it's just like a lot of it is just like I leave it to people's beliefs. If that's the belief you have, that's the belief you have. I'm not here to change it. I'm not here to tell you one way or another. I just like to inform myself as to why people think that way and how they think that way. But like I said, that's why I always ask, like, people don't want to bring, like, they want to have that separation of church and state, but then it's also like guns and state is a separation, but then religion and state can be blurred. So it's just like we have to make sure that we maintain that same discipline of keeping these things separate so we don't run into these situations. Because the thing is a male, like, let's say, hey, if there was a law that came down, it's like males have to get a vasectomy if a kid gets aborted also. How would you feel about that? Like, hey, if the woman decided to get an abortion, then you have to get a vasectomy also because you didn't want to have the kid. The thing with that, Mike, is just like that I can't blame just on the Democratic Party, because a lot of the people in the Republican Party are in the closet and they don't come out with it. There's a lot of Republicans that are in the closet that don't come out with it, but are the first ones to try to judge somebody for something else. The other thing when it comes to that, when it comes to the whole gender thing, is just like, what are our kids watching? What's coming out on TV? What's coming out on the news? What's coming out on movies and stuff like that? That's what I think is the yeah, but that's the thing. It's the influences that are being put into place. Cause the thing is all these kids, what do? They watch TV now. They on their phone, they on YouTube, they watching these videos and stuff like that, where those lines get blurred. Whereas before, while me and you were growing up, you didn't see the shows you watch now for kids are nowhere near or close to what the shows were while we were growing up. There was no intertwining or mixing of this or this, that, agenda this, gender that. There was none of that when we were growing up. Now watch TV and it's all this and all that, and it's just like you can't say it's the Democratic Party or Republican Party. I was just like, that's how the media and that's how entertainment is portraying everything and pushing everything. I was just like, before it was like that separation. Now it's just like we're pushing everything on there, but it's just like that's not the case for everybody. The thing is, it's just like some people don't know how they feel when they're younger. Now, if it's the Democratic Party saying, yes, we are going to push for you to change your thing, now that's a different story. But they're basically saying is just like, hey, if you want to go ahead and feel that you are something else, then go ahead and feel like you're something else. They're not mandating or stating that you have to do that. They're saying that you have the ability to do so. The same way it was just like with the I was just like you've had tomboys since forever. Cause what? They grew up in an environment where they were probably the only girl and there was nothing but boys. So they ended up more with more masculine traits. Not traits, but like more characteristics of acting like a male because they were so used to that environment. And that's what I say. It was just like, Mike, where is that stated though? Because that's the thing. A lot of the Republicans say that stuff, and it's just like, where is it stated? Because the big issue also, like, let's put it like this. With Tim Walz, right? When the whole thing was just like, oh, Tim Walz was making sure that tampons were in the boys' bathroom. Nowhere was that actually stated. Nowhere was that actually mentioned. What Tim Walz was doing was making sure that schools had tampons to put into the schools with the policy he made. Now, where the schools put them, that was on the school. That had nothing to do with Tim Walz. But the agenda that the Republicans are trying to push on him is, oh, he wanted to put tampons in the boys' bathroom. Nowhere in any policy does Tim Walz or in the policy that created that state that they have to be put in the boys' bathroom. That's something that just keeps on getting pushed and pushed. Like, oh, Democrats want to do this and do that. It was just like, if there's actual legislation that shows that, then I understand. Thing is it's just like, I understand that, but then that's that on that effect, that's on the parents. That has nothing to do with the government at that point. I was just like, what are you teaching your kids? I was just like, yeah, they might say that, but nowhere is it gonna be okay for males and females to shower. That's just like, that's the same way as your guns being taken away. Shit isn't gonna happen. Now you may have neutral bathrooms or neutral locker rooms, but at the same time, that actually happening is just something that the Republicans love doing scare tactics, and they always come up with stuff to just try to scare you or institute like, oh, this is what's gonna happen. This is what's gonna happen. If you pick the Democrats are gonna do this, but they can never actually provide proof of where it's been actually done before. So that's why I have a reservation towards Republicans, because the thing is a lot of times the Republicans will make statements that are not factual, but the thing is most people run off of it because it's a person of higher stature. Same way like in the military, we got used to, hey, when the CEO said something, that's what went. A lot of people have that mentality now when it comes to, oh, this senator said this. I was just like, most of these senators is crooked as shit, but people don't look into them. But this senator said, oh, the Republicans are doing this, or the Democrats said this. And it's just like, when you actually look up the paperwork and try to find the information, the documentation is never there. I was just like, because she said kids have the right to do that. But there's no documentation anywhere basically showing any of these claims. And that's why I have a problem with it. The proposed changes to sleep apnea need to be thrown out. That's still in writing, y'all. Like, look, the official date for the sleep apnea changes is supposed to be April of 2025. It's not a set date. Basically, what the government is telling itself is just like the VA is saying we need to have, April of 2025. April of 2025, that's not the actual date it's going to happen. Basically, we've been dealing with this since March of 2022, when they've said about changing the mental health ratings and changing the sleep apnea ratings, changing the tinnitus ratings. This has been an ongoing thing for people to be told that these changes are going to be implemented and changed. It is not happening in April 2025. That is the deadline that the VA is giving itself. Like, yo, we need to make a decision by then. Now, if they don't have enough information, they don't have anything else, or they found new research or whatever, that may get extended again. Because you got to remember, that's the final date that the VA is giving itself. Like, yo, we need to have an action done. The effective date of that could be months from there, a couple of days from there. That's what I'm saying. So it's just like, they want to make those changes to sleep apnea, but the thing is just like, the reason they're also doing that is because with medicine, technology ends up getting better. Technology is getting improved. Technology is increasing, and it's getting better to the fact where it's just like, you know what? The sleep apnea machine it works, but we have different methods. Because now there's all sorts of different stuff that comes out. So that's why they're starting to try to make these changes because of that. But then that also, like I said, that goes into what? But yeah, those are the things that people need to understand. It's just like those changes are proposed. They have been proposed for some time. We've been talking about this since March of 2022. Like the one thing, like, and that's what I tell people is just like don't go off of these scare tactics that other channels or other people are talking about. Like, oh, you got to make sure to do it. It's just like do the shit right the first time. If you're gonna claim sleep apnea, do it right the first time. Go get your sleep study. Go get the documentation. Go get that Nexus letter to connect it. Once you have that and you confirm that, it don't matter what the changes are because you're gonna have it if you do it before that time. Because the same thing is just like people don't understand, like the same thing with like the digestive system changes with like the irritable bowel syndrome, GERD, and a couple of other things that change in the digestive system. When was that mentioned? Nobody talked about that. Nobody talked about when those proposed changes or when it was going to happen. It happened in May 19th of 2024. So just a couple of months ago, that's when they implemented it. But nobody made a talk about how long it took to actually have the process changed or whatever the case may be. A Nexus letter. So a Nexus letter, Roberto, is basically if you're going to a, let's say, an outside provider or shit, you could even go through a VA provider. If you go through your provider, you basically are getting a letter stating, hey, this I've diagnosed Roberto with migraines or like whatever the case may be. That provider, your medical provider, is basically stating and diagnosing you with the stuff and stating that this injury was because of your time in service. So the Nexus letter is connecting your time in service to this injury, because a lot of the times people don't have that documentation to highlight or showcase what your injury was during service because you didn't go to sick call or whatever branch it may be. You didn't go and get it documented. Now you have to have an outside source basically say like, hey, this injury was basically because of his time in the military. So when you send that, it's having a medical professional back your claim saying that, hey, this injury was happened in service and it was because of this and it's gotten worse or whatever the case may be. And they explain that in the letter. No, dime. So the thing is benefits, your current rating is not going to change. Your rating is not going to change. That's the one thing you got to understand. So if let's say you have sleep apnea now, if you have sleep apnea, no matter what changes go forth, you are grandfathered in. And that's something a lot of veterans need to understand. Whatever your ratings are right now, if there's any changes that happen in the future, those are not going to get changed unless you get reevaluated for it or you get rechecked for it. Or you have like they decide to like downgrade your rating because you've gone to the doctor and stuff like that and your symptoms have gotten better, stuff like that. Yes, that yeah. If you don't go back, you're grandfathered in. But the thing is the one issue that's another thing that a lot of people like to say is just like, oh, when you go in and you reapply or you apply for something else, that it may open up everything else. What people fail to realize is just like it happens a lot for people with secondary issues. If you've had nothing but primary issues like service connected issues and those are there, they're not going to reopen that. The problem is that a lot of veterans have these secondary effects basically. So you have all these secondary claims. So let's say you have, like I was talking earlier, like you have tinnitus, but then you connected migraines and insomnia to your tinnitus. Once that tinnitus changes and they find that, hey, you don't really have tinnitus or your tinnitus got better or your migraines get better, then they look at it as like, hey, now we have to verify that these other two things that are secondaries are actually as bad because the primary thing got better. And that's what a lot of people don't. It's the secondary effects. Let me see. Does this pop it up? Should pop it. There we go. So here's the question. I got diagnosed with sleep apnea. So do I go to a VSO and submit for that? also, or how do I go about it? So what you want to do, Roberto, is when it comes to the case of you have been diagnosed with it. So you have to make sure that it's service connected, because just because you get diagnosed with something does not mean that you are going to get anything. Do you have a sleep study that, like is mentioned, did it happen during service? Did you get diagnosed with sleep apnea during your military service? If not, what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have that doctor or provider, whoever, basically have a nexus letter stating that this is service connected and it was caused during service. And another thing that people don't realize is just like, hey, what you can also use is buddy statements. A lot of people don't understand that having buddy statements is a big thing, because you can use a buddy statement to basically state, like, hey, when I deployed with Roberto in whatever year, this location, this time frame, we were bunkmates, and this dude always was like sleeping, and you would hear him like choking on himself and stuff like that. And you can make that as a claim, as a buddy statement, saying like, yes, this dude was dealing with sleep apnea in these days because we had to wake him up a couple of times because we thought he was choking in his sleep and stuff like that. So, and then also, yes, writing a letter just explaining your symptoms and what you're going through. So that's a statement, and then the other ones, and you have it that way, and that will explain it on there. Because then you can go through a VSO. Like a VSO is a suggested method. If you have no idea what you're doing, go talk to a VSO, because these people have the knowledge to do it. If not, you can look it up yourself. A lot of the stuff is, let me show y'all real quick. Let me show you this. So you have this right here. If you haven't checked this out, check the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 38, Chapter 1, Part 4. This is the part for schedule ratings. So if you don't know what this is something where basically the listing of all the ratings are placed in there, and this will give you that information. So you can get all the stuff you need to do that. And it breaks down what sleep apnea is, what the percentages are. So if you look it up, you can go sleep apnea. Where is it? And it breaks it down, and it'll have it. You have to look for it, but it'll basically say sleep apnea or obstructive, and then you go from there. I have to figure out where exactly it has it, but it's in here. You look for it, it'll pop up. You'll find it, and it'll tell you what it is. It'll tell you exactly what it is. Like, here it goes. So sleep apnea syndromes: obstructive, central, or mixed. Chronic respiratory failure with carbon dioxide retention is how you get 100%. Most people don't get 100% unless they have like surgery for it. Requires use of breathing assistance device. If you have a CPAP machine, that's how most veterans have gotten their 50% off sleep apnea. Persistent daytime hypersomnolence, which is basically you're dead tired all the time. You don't sleep well even after you sleep or stuff, not 30%. Asymptomatic, it's documented, but it's not there. But that'll highlight that, and that's how you check. And the 38 CFR shows you all of that. So that's something you got to make sure that you're checking, because it'll provide you the information you need. Okay, what was the next question? Extreme recluse. I have not filed for PTSD, although I have been diagnosed. Filing for sleep apnea does not count. Only being rated makes it stick. I'm not sure I understand. No problem, Roberto. So you're saying that you have not filed for PTSD even though you have been diagnosed. Extreme recluse, who diagnosed you with the PTSD? And filing, I'm not on the, because I'm not entirely sure what you're trying to state with, like, the filing for sleep apnea does not count, or only being rated makes it stick. In order to get a rating for it, you can get a rating. You can get a 0%, or depending on what the Code of Federal Regulations states, that's the requirement that you will receive. That's the rating you will get. That was the percentage you would get if you, once you fall under a certain criteria of what the 38 CFR basically tells you. If you've been diagnosed with PTSD, you can file for it. Now, let's say you have been diagnosed already with depression. or anxiety or whatever the case may be, what you're going to be doing is that you can file for an increase or you can file for PTSD. And then basically you're going to have that documentation, because I went through the same issue. I had, what was it, 30% for depression and anxiety, all the mental health stuff. I went, and when I was going through therapy, I went through the counselor, which the VA basically sent me to at home. So you already have a filing or rating. So while you're in the process, it is not going to change. In the process, it is not going to change. What's going to change, it'll changes when you get the rating. Because basically they could just be like, hey, it's not worse. And your rating will stay the same. Or if they see to it that, oh, you got better, your rating might go down. But during the process, nothing changes. So if you're at 30% right now, it's going to stay 30 unless the increase is valid, it shows it and stuff like that. In my case, like I said, I was at 30% with mental health issues. I filed for PTSD because I went through the therapy that the counselor that basically the VA is referred me to basically here by my in my town. And basically they diagnosed me with PTSD. They were going through the regular motions of just dealing with disability, depression, anxiety, and stuff like that. And then they diagnosed me with PTSD because it was like, look, bro, you got all the symptoms for PTSD. You're not just dealing with just depression, you're doing it with that. So they diagnosed me, and then they sent over that file information, basically of them diagnosing me with PTSD, and that was sent into my file stuff, and they did it that way. So grandfathered extreme is more of the case when it's something that there's a new rating system for. Yeah, you can use it. What was it? But you can use another code. Yeah, like I said, the VSO is basically your best outlet to do it, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you are educated in the stuff you're looking at also. Because you got to remember, VSO does it for free, but also at the VSO, they sometimes miss stuff also. VSOs are not perfect. You got to make sure you're going through the VSO and providing the information that you need to do that, but then you also need to make sure that you are knowledgeable in what you're claiming. Because the thing is you might miss something, or the VSO might miss something, and you just may be like, hey, I saw this in the CFR, or I saw this and this and this and like that, and I can claim this and stuff like that. So it's just like it benefits you to use a VSO because they have a well of knowledge, but at the same time, it's good for you to educate yourself on those things just in case they miss something. Because sometimes certain things just get missed, and that happens with the VA rater. Same happens with the VSO. Yes, it is a partnership in the process. And it's basically you working with them to make sure that you are taking care of yourself while they're helping take care of you. Because if they go about it, and like I said, VSOs, depending on where they're at, they get swamped with a lot of stuff. So it's not easy for them to always make sure that they get every single thing. Now, if it's a low casework and stuff like that, where they have tons of time to make sure they go in depth, then yes. But not all the cases are like that. Sometimes VSOs do miss stuff, and that's something that people need to understand. So educating yourself is always the primary thing, and you should know it. But the grandfather process is basically like, hey, let's say you have like this whole sleep apnea thing, how the possible changes are after April 2025. Basically, if you've had your rating before that effective date of the changes, your rating gets grandfathered in. Nothing will change because you were basically rated with the prior policy number or rating system or schedule of ratings, whatever that was. That's how you were rated as. Now, if it changes after April 2025, anything that you file after that will coincide with the new changes in the regulation. So basically, when they say grandfathered, it's basically like, hey, there's already stuff that's in place. If the policy changes or the diagnostic code rating changes. Then from there, if you file for it again, or if you file for an increase after that time period, that's when they will start looking at it with the new rating schedule. Otherwise, you will be grandfathered in and you will stay with that. The other thing is like the 5, 10, and 15 rule. Yes, and that's the thing. Vasquez, that's a big thing that a lot of people do not know about and don't understand, that when it comes to not having documentation, buddy statements and family statements help. Your own statements help. Those, yeah, statement in support of claim. And you can just make all of that stuff and you can put that in there, and it helps build the case. You're basically building that paperwork trail for yourself. Is a nexus letter required for every claim with no evidence and military records? The nexus letter is never required, but it is super beneficial. See what I'm saying? I don't know if I put that right, but it's never, the nexus letter is not a requirement. There's nothing required, but it'll be extremely beneficial for you to have a nexus letter. Because the thing is you may be able to provide your information without the nexus letter. But if you have that nexus letter from an outside provider, an outside doctor, it makes it easier for them to look at it and just like, well, if this outside doctor is saying that it is this and they have diagnosed it and it shows that it was a service connected issue, or it is a secondary issue to a service connected issue, then it makes it a lot easier for them to go through the documentation, then go through the diagnosis, go through, if it's possible, imagery or paperwork, and be like, okay, this is the information that they have showing that they have this actual issue. Now they have a medical provider providing a statement, which is basically a strong supporting document, because basically it's another medical provider claiming, hey, service connected or secondary to the issue. You having that information allows you to see that, and it gives you that opportunity to basically establish that for you, which is something that you need. The VA is questioning the stressor which comes from a classified operation. The thing is if it's a there, I'm not that one. That's a question I'm not sure. Because if it's a classified operation, that means the operation. When you mean classified, is it a never happened situation, or something that happened but cannot be spoken about situation? Because it's two, I guess it's like two different things. Because one is just like it happened, but I can't talk about it. And then there's one that it didn't happen, but you're claiming it from there. The thing is you're gonna, that's a tricky one. That would definitely be a question for a VSO. Because when it comes to that question there, I'm not sure. If it was a classified thing, I don't know if you can obtain that documentation to support your claim, or it's just like. So J Vasquez is providing the right information for you right there. I was just like, that's what you want to do. I would say extreme recluse that might be a situation where you may need to talk to a lawyer, or you may need to talk to a VSO first, of course, because it's a free thing and they will be able to guide you on that. Because if it's an issue that happened and they can't say, hey, J, I appreciate it. I do this every Sunday just to try to help out veterans, just to give them information and stuff like that. So that's what I do. I appreciate you stumbling in and providing information also, because that's what it's all about, making sure we can help and assist veterans as we go. But recluse is it's yeah, that's a situation, because the thing is just like you have to be able to show that something happened in service. Now, if it's like you said, it's PTSD, that's something that you're gonna have to talk about, because they're gonna ask you about the situation. So now, if the situation never happened, it's kind of difficult, because then, like I said, for you to get like supporting statements or buddy statements and stuff like that, it would be difficult in that manner. So that's why I suggest, like, you definitely need to make sure you go and talk to a VSO and ask them that question. Just ask them like, hey, if I was on a classified mission or something like that and this is what happened and stuff like that, what recourses or what actions do I have to move forward with this, because I am dealing with PTSD, which has been diagnosed from my outside doctor about the situation, or therapist, but it was something that I cannot provide any information for because it happened while in service, but technically didn't happen in the service. But the thing is if you're going and you got diagnosed, you basically spoke about the issue with your outside doctor. Now you would have to, like Jay Vasquez says, basically you would have to go through that through your CMP exam, because they're gonna examine you on the PTSD. You're gonna get a mental health evaluation for PTSD through the VA. So the same way they do see in the compensation and pension exams, the CMP exams, on any other injuries, they give you a mental health evaluation also. So if you're claiming PTSD, you're going to have to go talk to somebody about the issue that caused the PTSD. So they're going to evaluate you and they're going to talk to you. They're going to ask you questions. You're going to have to go through it, which is a tough time for a lot of veterans to go through the issues that they're dealing with. But that's something that you're going to have to do in order to provide them that information so that they know when it happened. They're just like, because if you're stating, oh, it happened this time, it was here, this is the date, this is the time period, this is the location and stuff like that. I was just like, I'm not entirely sure how in depth these people go in, and I don't really think they go too in depth into finding like certain military situations. But definitely, you being diagnosed with it and you explaining it and you talking about it, that will lead to it. Because I don't think they dig too deep into it, as long as you can corroborate what it is you're talking about. But like I said, your best option is to go talk to a VSO so you can get that explained and get taken care of. Because something like that, where it's just like something happened but didn't happen, is it's a kind of hard situation to actually get that to go through. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, I just do this. It was just like it's something that is just like I do every Sunday. I just try to help people out, because I still have people that are still serving after I got out, that they still reach out to me now that they're going through the process, and I've gotten like a bunch of them to 100% just first try go, because it's just like I just explain what it is they have to do, go through the stuff and stuff like that. So it's easy. I was just like, yeah, and it's a lot when it's a person it took them so long to attempt to file a claim, where it's going through the process now after being out for so long to try to now provide the information. How about this? While on a FTX, some rangers executed a simulated attack on our talk. One ranger called me outside the talk. Pulled been on a CS kind of sense. Oh shit. Um, there has to be some medical record of that recluse. You got medically seen, I'm guessing. At some point you got medically seen. There has to be some documentation about that. And if that's the case, you still that's what you talk about. You talk about that. You can talk about it. If that's the situation you were in, that's what happened. You make sure you go ahead and talk about it and explain that to the CMP examiner. Because it's just like, look, I went through Oh no, if you got medical records of the assault, you good to go. If you have the medical records of the assault, that you have documentation. You have the documentation you need. And if that's what you're claiming PTSD for, it was just like if you have you were assaulted. So that is a what the hell is it called? I forget the wording for it. But it was assault while in service. And if you have the medical records, you just provide that, and then you go through the CMP exam. Yeah, you don't. In cases like that, that's something that you have concrete documentation of that happening, and then and then now if you have the diagnosis for it, that's an easy tie-in, because it's just like, hey, I'm dealing with this issue because of this event that happened while I was in the military with this documentation. So you submit that, you submit your diagnosis from your medical provider and stuff like that, and you provide that, and then from there they'll send you to a CMP exam to examine that. And once you explain what happened and talk about it and how it deals with you, and what it stresses you out, how it does. But you also got to remember, it's the effect that it has on your daily life that they go after or look after when it comes to um when it goes to ratings. So let me show you. I'm Jay Vasquez. I am on Central Time, 12 noon every Sunday. I sometimes also do like late night ones because I know y'all veterans don't go to sleep early. So sometimes I just do pop up ones throughout the week, later on in the night, and I just pop up. But every Sunday, 12 noon Central Time, U.S. Standard Time, obviously. I do these lives every single time. Central Time, 12 noon. I know football season is coming up and stuff like that, so I'm thinking I may change it or maybe start a bit earlier before that. But I think it's if people want to get educated and want to learn how to get to 100% and get the benefits and entitlements they earned, I think a game of football can be overlooked for a week or two. But yeah, I appreciate it, Jay. But yeah, if you have the records, if you have all that recluse, that's your documentation. You have your diagnosis. Just you can ask for a nexus letter from from that provider. Be like, look, this is this PTSD is service connected or was caused because of his time in service after this assault, which happened on this and that, which the medical records show the assault happened on this day, this, and that. And he's been diagnosed. I've diagnosed him with PTSD because of the events and actions that happened on this day in this thing, which is here in the supporting documents of the assault medical records. Boom. That's an easy nexus letter right there because you already have the information. The issue is with a lot of people when they file for PTSD, they don't have any information. They don't have any documentation. They don't have nothing tying it to medical service. So that's when that provider puts that nexus letter basically saying that, oh, I diagnosed him because I found that this happened because of his time in service. In your case, you have some doctors I know won't do it, but the thing is because they don't know what they're doing. Some of them won't do that, but the thing is just like it's weird when those doctors don't do it. And a lot of times I know I've seen and I've spoken to a lot of people where it's just like doctors are saying they don't want to do a nexus letter. It's because they don't know what they're supposed to write. So it's just basically finding nexus letters, which I need to start getting a couple of them so I can provide them to people just like as a template and just have people like block out the stuff so I can get it. And just show them what their nexus letter provides and what it states. Like some of them don't do that, but the thing is you have the documentation. You have medical records of the assault. That alone is something that's valid and is factual and is documented while in service. So it makes it easier for you to service connected because it happened in service. So you don't, in your case, it's just like you don't really need to have that crazy extensive outside resources and documentation because you have documentation of while you were in service, it happening. And that's what you got to go off of. That's what you need to use. That's what you need to make sure. That's what you need to go off of. Yeah. That's why, and the thing is just like with you having that documentation, it already makes it easier for you to file a disability claim. Makes it 10 times easier because you have the provided documentation. When it comes to a lot of veterans and they're filing for something like that, now if you were to say, hey, you didn't have those medical records and you didn't have that information, that's when it would be something necessary that you want to make sure to be like, you know what, I need a nexus letter. But you already have the information provided from those medical records of the assault. So you have it documented. So you'll be able to have the time, the day, what happened, what they did to like alleviate the issue or whatever the case. That'll all be in that documentation. And now when they go to do that CMP exam, they're going to ask you questions on it, and you're just elaborating on what it happened, and then you're elaborating on what you feel and how it affects you on a day-to-day basis, because that's what they go off of. It's the day-to-day basis. So see, like, these are all the different things. Give me a sec. These are all the different things here in the schedule of ratings, mental disorders. So this is all the stuff that you can basically claim. So you got post-traumatic stress disorder 94, diagnostic code 9411. And then this is basically it. Look, any documentation you have, anything and every documentation you have on that incident is something you need to provide. That's something that you have to submit with your documentation when you file for that claim. So all that stuff you have to make sure that you have it on there and that it's notated and placed in the system when you file your claim. So that way it shows everything like, oh, this is what happened and that's what happened. But this is like the breakdown of, like I said, it's just like you have PTSD. But the thing is this is what they go off of. The general rating for mental disorders. This is what they go off of, and this is how you get your rating. So you'll be claimed with PTSD. They'll service connected and they'll give that to you, but then it falls into these. It can go from 10, 30, 50, 70, 100, depending also what you have. If you already have other mental health situations that fall under this, they basically group everything. But the thing is, depending on how bad the stuff is and depending on what it is, that's what you get. So like it says, look, for 100% total occupational and social impairment due to such symptoms as gross impairment in thought processes or communication, persistent delusions or hallucinations, grossly inappropriate behavior, persistent danger of hurting self or others, intermittent inability to perform activities of daily living, including maintenance of minimal personal hygiene, disorientation to time or place, memory loss for names or close relatives, own occupation or own name. That's what gets you the 100% when it comes to PTSD. But then you have these other ones as you go down, and that's what the ratings require. But you already have the documentation you need. Yeah. And that's why I know that's where those buddy statements also come in handy. But the fact, I think Jay, the thing is, I think he has medical documentation of the assault when it happened, of the issue when it happened. So the fact that he has documentation of an assault while in service, I think is just like, that alone is like the documentation of documentation, because you have the record showing that it happened. and it happened while in service and you were taken care of or seen for these issues. Now it's you also got diagnosed by this, but you have to put like you have to file that provider of yours, even if they don't want to put a nexus letter, they still have to have some documentation saying that they are diagnosing you with PTSD. So that's why I say, like, yeah, a battle buddy, if you can get a battle buddy statement, that would definitely be great. But at the same time, it's just like you have medical records showing that the assault happened while in service and what happened, and it was all in service. So that alone is an easy like thing. But look, keep this in mind, Recluse, and this is what I tell a lot of veterans. Just because you submit it doesn't mean that they're gonna approve it on the first try. You may end up like if they deny it, you appeal it. Because the thing is a lot of the times veterans will get that letter and it'll say denied or not service connected or whatever the case may be. And they forget to actually appeal. They just take it as, oh, the VA doesn't want to approve it. I was just like, I tell my story a lot. I had a severe ankle sprain. I was just like, hey, Recluse, it's just like you learn from it. You learn from it. Like, trust me, there's a ton of vets that have been dealing with issues and they haven't filed and they've been out for quite some time. And now's when they're filing for a bunch of stuff. The thing is that's why I do this, because the thing is most people don't know what they're supposed to do. The same way with a bunch of active duty. Like shit, when we were in active duty or reserves or whatever the case, nobody talks about the VA. The only time you hear anybody talking about the VA is when you're about to get out. Nobody tells you, hey, make sure to get your shit documented. Make sure to go to the doctor. Make sure to get seen for this. Nobody tells you that while you're on active duty. So it's hard for veterans to then like after, hey, if you got out in 96, you've been dealing with this for what? 18 years? And now is when you trying to do it. It's just like it's kind of hard because you have an 18-year gap where the VA makes it more difficult for people because it's just like, hey, I need you to prove that this happened while you were in service and not that this happened within these 18 years since you actually decided to file. And that's where a lot of people don't understand that and they run into that problem. It's just like, nobody walks out the military. They run like, it's like that's the issue. That's the problem. I was just like I tell people. I always tell people. I was lucky enough that I had to detail with a sergeant first class that basically was walking with a cane and he just told me, it was just like, look, man, at the end of the day, nobody here is gonna push you in a wheelchair if you end up in one. He was like, you young, you look fit, you look high speed. You get hurt, get it documented. Because he was like, I'm retiring now and I'm dealing with all these issues, but I never went to sick call. I never went to this. I never did that. And it's just like now it's trying to run through the VA to get me to show that all these issues I'm dealing with are because of the military service. And they've gotten worse through my time, but I never had anything documented. So nobody in the military gets used to it. Nobody talks about it. It's just like you deal with it. And that's what the military ingrains in you. You got a bad knee, you keep running on it. Your bone is, all you hear is this. And they still want you to run on it, and you still do, and you keep on going. But at the end of the day, nobody's going to take care of your knee but yourself. So now it's just like, hey, it might have been, you should have, like, there's nothing wrong with, hey, it took you a long time to decide to file. The thing is now when you file correctly. And that's the other thing I like to tell people. You got to make sure you filing for any disability claim is you filing, making sure that, hey, without a doubt, anybody that picks up this documentation or this paperwork is going to look at it was just like, yep, that happened in service. That's the mentality veterans have to have. It's not, oh, the VA is going to see it. And so, no, you have to make sure that you're filing the stuff without a doubt showing, yes, this happened in service. This is what I'm dealing with. These are the issues. can't walk the same. I can't walk into the rooms the same anymore. I can't run. I have issues. I have issues cutting my grass. Like all that stuff has to be notated and documented. And if it's a buddy that's helping you assist with that and putting that information in words, that's what you got to go with. If it's your wife, spouse, your kids making statements, it's just like all that documentation shows. It's just like, look, he used to be able to do this. Now he can't do this. Now he needs assistance. We had to hire somebody to do this because he can't, like stuff like that. All those little outside things that most people don't think about is what is beneficial when it comes to filing those claims. If you have the documentation from all the stuff that happened in service, it makes it easier because then it's like that. Now, what I also tell people is like, hey, you have your medical records. Your medical records are usually thick as hell. What you want to do is if you're filing for something, go through your medical records, or shit, if you got Adobe, or if you can even scan on your phone and stuff like that. Print the whole thing out if you can, go through it, and actually separate everything. Separate the different things you have. So basically, like, let's say you have an ankle injury. What I noticed is that a lot of veterans just think of just like, oh, my medical records is submitted, it's there. No. Go through your medical records page by page. I don't care if it's 1,000 pages long. You want to make sure you get your rating right? Go through those 1,000 pages. Because one thing I noticed is just like a lot of people don't understand that when it comes to those VA raters looking for stuff, they control F. Like on a search, like control, what is it? Let me see. Control F. See how it pops up on the top right of my screen? I don't think y'all can see it on mobile. Hold on, let me see. See how that popped up right there? Top right of the screen, search. Then you just put mental. And it'll show you the 25 different times that mental pops up on here. But now, let's say that the person misspelled it and just put menta. It might show up that way, but not necessarily. It's still showing the same file because it's still the same word. It's a weird word. But certain things don't show up the same. And then you got to remember, some of the stuff that's put into your records, it's off of a picture. PDFs don't always read pictures. So let's say you have a sick call form or just a documentation where they wrote it and they just made a photocopy of it and put it into your file. The VA rater is not going to see that because it's a photocopy and the text does not actually distinguish. So you're not going to be able to search for it. So basically that ankle injury or whatever injury it was you had is not going to populate when they search for it because they're going to see it as it's just a page, it's just a picture. So what you want to make sure you're doing is if you're claiming that ankle injury, you go through that whole medical record, check your medical record, take out those pages and put them all together. So anything that's just like, hey, left ankle, you put all those pages together. Like I said, you either scan them or like make it into a separate PDF, scan them all together like that. And everything that says left ankle injury, you put it there. So you're checking page by page so that you're seeing everything that's there that was typed in, any pictures, anything that was photo scanned or anything like that. And now you're making that as a separate thing. So when it goes to filing that claim for left ankle, you provide the provided documents. Now you have that PDF highlighting all your left ankle injuries and you submit that. Next thing, back injury. You go down the list and do the same thing. Find everything that has back issues. Make that into a separate PDF. Upload it. Lumbar pain or cervical pain. Upper and back, because you got to remember it's two different things. You can file for it differently. If you just put back pain, like I did the first time around, I didn't know any fucking better. Then it was just like, no, you want to make sure you're putting upper, you want to put cervical because it's your upper back, or lumbar if it's your lower back, because it's two different things. There's pain in two different areas. If you just put back, they just think it's your whole back just hurts. And then it makes it a bit more difficult for them to clarify it. These people are not going to do the extensive work for you. They go off of what you're telling them. If you're telling them a half-ass job of what's going on with you, they're going to give you a half-ass response on your rating. And that's what a lot of people don't think. A lot of people think that these VA raters are not going to go above and beyond to take care of you. You're the one that has to make sure you go above and beyond to take care of yourself. But like I said, if you highlighting all those back issues, all those ankle issues, all that stuff, separating it, put it into a separate PDF file, and then uploading it that way, and just like thing, you still gonna upload your whole entire medical record. But now you're giving the justification and the evidence provided for that claim. So that way, when the VA rater sees, oh, left ankle, okay, where's the claim? Instead of him doing Control F on a whole 1,000-page document, now he can pull up your separate document PDF and it's just like, okay, he got everything here. I was like, it shows when he got injured. It shows that he went to physical therapy. It shows that he's on medication, or they prescribed him a ankle brace or whatever the case may be. And now that's highlighted on there. And that's why I said, like, that video. I have a video on that. It's just like, you have to the way you file is basically reassuring and making sure that without a doubt you are going to win. That's what people don't understand. It's not, oh, I think I'm good, I got this here. No. When you file, you want to make sure you're filing with the absolute, without a doubt. So Recluse, with that, they're trying to change the law on that. There, I'm not sure if how that one's going to work with the law gets changed, but they're trying to make it, I believe it's the Major Richard Starr Act that they were trying to put into the defense budget that changes that. No, that's a different one. That's if you got medically retired out, you're not able to Benny DeMarble, no problem. Appreciate, I'm glad I'm able to help. But the Major Richard Starr Act is basically an act that basically, like, let's say you got medically retired from the military. Right now, you wouldn't be able to collect your military retirement benefit with your disability benefit at the same time. What they're trying to do is change that so that you are able to actually do that. Depending on if it's combat related, is the CRC, and that's a whole different thing. But when it comes to separation payment, that's one thing that I know I've seen a couple of politicians, they have been talking about, the fact that they want to try to change that. Because the thing is basically, if you, whatever your separation pay is, basically you will not receive any every Sunday. Every Sunday, 12 noon, I always do these lives, and I do every now and then throughout the week, I pop up on random nights when I'm not doing schoolwork or something like that, and I'll do regular streams, just the same thing, just like I call it like the veteran late night hangout, and people just chat, just hang out with people, talk. If you got questions, we answer them same way. But yeah, your 50K separation pay, you're gonna have to pay 50K back in disability before you get your disability. So the best thing would be is like, hey, get all your stuff together and file as soon as possible, because the faster you can get that over with, the faster you can get that 50K out the way. Because let me see. Give me 1 second. I'll check what the pay chart is. Why is it? Check with the disability pay thing, just to try to see. Because right now, 100%. Hey, Recluse, do you have kids? Do you have kids? Because the thing is you still get, there's still benefits that come from it. You might be 65. You still got a long way to go, my man. You still got time. Because basically, if you are at 100%, no kiddos, okay. Because I was about to say there's a bunch of benefits to having those kids also. So basically, if you get to that 100%, That would be $3,785 that you would get monthly. Got to remember that we're gonna get an increase, which the increase is around 20 months. Yeah, so that would be at least, yeah, unfortunately, almost 2 years. But at the same time, like I said, you can still get those other benefits are still there. Oh, just like you may be having to pay back, but you can still get your medical taken care of. You have Champ VA, which if you have a spouse, um, she can get health care that she needs at this time period. Um, and you get covered the same way. So it's just like it's not the monetary thing is an issue, but at the same time, it's just like you can still get those benefits that can help you in the long run, even if it comes to attorneys won't talk after I tell them about it. About the what the disability thing, yeah. Because the thing is that's why with a lot of the times it's just like going to attorneys. That's why it's like going to attorneys, going to these like loan, like, no, I wouldn't say loan shark, but that's what they damn near are like claim sharks. Um, they try to get you for the money. That's what it is. If you go to a VSO, it's free. If you go to the American Legion, it's free. Veteran of Foreign Wars, free. Um, Most of the time, if you go into a VA facility, they usually have one of those entities that works in the VA facility and is a VSO. And you can go to them, just sit down, ask questions. Or sometimes they're free then and there, or sometimes they require like an appointment or something for you to just talk to them. But if you have an American Legion around you, or if you have a VFW post, just walk in and just be like, "Hey, I got a bunch of questions and stuff like that, and I need assistance with this." Um, but you have that stuff there. You have all that information and you have the documentation, and that's what helps you with it. Now with the whole paying the money back, that's a problem. That's an issue always. But I know politicians are trying to talk about trying to change that so that that is not a thing, because it's just like, hey, you got your separation pay for a reason. That shouldn't be towards your disability also. Benny, I'm not a VSO. I try to assist veterans. Like, let's say if you have questions or anything like that, I try to guide you and show you where you have to look at so that you can educate yourself also when it comes to filing that claim. Most of the time with these lives, it's just like, hey, if you have a specific question, I try to go through the documentation and like, look, it's easy for me to just pull up the page. I'll be here on the va.gov and I will go with it. I'll go through it with you, and I'll try to find you whatever information it is that may help you with your claim. I don't actually sit down and do the claims for that. I don't feel confident enough to do that. I'm not an accredited. Thank you, Extreme Recluse. Hope to see you then. I'm not an accredited claims agent yet. I am planning to get my accreditation so that when I do these lives, then it's a more like, yes, this is what you need to do kind of thing. But it's basically, if you're filing, like if you got questions, just throw them up on the chat. I have no issue with that. If you got any questions, you throw them up. I answer to the best of my abilities. I'll answer. I'll try to give you information. Basically lead you in the direction, show you where to look at in documentation as to what it is, what your criteria meets, what it doesn't meet when it comes to, do you need a buddy statement, a nexus letter, what entitlements you may have, what benefits you have. Like, that's what I basically do as best I can. I don't, because the thing is I do this to try to educate veterans to help them. I'm not gonna say that if I help you, you're gonna automatically win. Chances are you're gonna win. that I will assure. You're gonna win something. But the thing is just like, it's the mentality of veterans to educate them and show them like, hey, just because you file, and sometimes you will get denied for stuff that's clear as day that happened in the military. You just have to make sure to appeal it. Don't resubmit for it. Appeal. The thing is that sometimes that process takes even longer. Sometimes that process becomes a 6-month process, 7-month process to get an appeal to go through or something like that. And it depends on the situation. Like in my case, I had an ankle injury. I went to physical therapy for like 18 months, a year and a half of physical therapy, and they still denied my claim, saying that it wasn't service connected. So I had to appeal and go through it. So that's why it's just like it's you making sure that when you're filing, you get everything you need. So everything, every illness, every ailment, every ache, and everything, you got to document all of that. Have documentation for all of that. Then start looking at, okay, what documentation or what diagnosis or what do I have to show that this is in service? And then the other thing I like to tell people is this: the 38 CFR is what people don't check. So if you go on Google search engine, just go Code of Federal Regulations, and you go to Title 38, Chapter 1, Part 4. This is the schedule for rating disabilities. This whole thing, it's pretty lengthy, but it basically gives you a breakdown like this: how you do the VA math, which I have a video on how to do the VA math to calculate it and stuff. And it gives you a breakdown of the bilateral factors, how to use the diagnostic codes, and then it starts breaking down each thing and what you get for rating. Because what a lot of people don't understand also is just that just because you file a rating doesn't mean you're going to get 100% for a certain thing. Just because you may not be able to use your arm the same way or whatever the case doesn't mean you're going to get 100% for it. Certain joints, certain things only can get a certain amount. So when it comes to like joint issues and stuff like that, for some it's just the most you can get is 40% for that joint. When it comes to like sleep apnea, 50% is the highest rating. Unless you have like literal breathing issues that require surgery, that might get you 100. But if you get a CPAP machine, it's 50. Migraines, the highest you can get is 50. Tinnitus, the highest you can get is 10%. GERD, I think GERD switches, I think it's like from 0 to 30% now because they just changed it in May. But there's a lot of those different things that is just like, if you got questions, ask away. Don't hesitate to ask. Benny, it is. And that's the issue that I think. Hold on. I'm gonna highlight this question. So the question is it tougher for vets who never went to sick call to get service connection? And the answer is yes. It is tougher because you have to find a way and you have to provide documentation in order to highlight and showcase the fact that you were injured or were diagnosed with this while in service. Is it tougher? Yes. Is it not possible? No, it's always possible. Thing is you have to go about the right way of getting that information. So when it comes to whatever the issue may be, you have to make sure you are diagnosed with it. And most of the times that is happening with an outside entity provider, doctor, counselor, therapist, whatever the issue may be, they're diagnosing you with the issue. When it comes to it after, it's basically getting a nexus letter, which is a letter basically from that provider or medical professional stating that, yes, I diagnosed him with this and this was caused during his time in service. So whatever the ailment is, mental health issue, whatever it is, it was caused by your time in service. So now when you point that out and you have that information, it goes into that. But then also there's support to claim statements. So that's a statement of support claim or something. I always forget the wording on that, but that's you making a statement as to why and how it happened. And then you got buddy statements. Buddy statements, it could be somebody that you served with or was in the area or in the location of when it happened or they observed it, or maybe like how your mentality changed, your mental health changed from like how you were when you were first with private and they knew you, and now you're sergeant first class and your whole mentality changed and stuff like that. Those buddy statements go a long way. Also family statements that are from your family showing that, hey, they were able to do this, now they're not able to. But having a nexus letter, having a diagnosis of the issue, those are the things you need to make sure that you are able to file a claim and win your claim. Because if you're just claiming something and you have no provided evidence, whether it's imagery, nexus letter, diagnosis, buddy statement, family statement, your own statement. If you don't have none of that information, it's hard for the VA to see, like, yes, this happened during your time in service. Now, once you get a service connected, you're golden. But it's the process of getting a service connected, because you have to make and provide that paper trail for the VA to be like, okay, this person didn't it didn't happen during time, like service time, because he never went and got seen for it, but it did happen in service time because this is the mitigating factors that highlight and show this. So is it tough? Yes, but it's possible, and that's what you got to make sure you're looking at, is getting the right information and getting the right stuff together to make sure that your claim is bulletproof, basically. So with that, it's just it is difficult, because a lot of the veterans that I talk to on these lives come from people that have been out for like 10 plus years, because they never thought to file. And just like the PACT Act changed a lot. A lot of people are more interested now because of the PACT Act, because they're just like, you know what? I deal with some of these things. Or veterans that are dealing with the stuff and have been dealing with these issues for quite some time now. Sometimes it's even if you're a family member. There's sometimes it's even family members that reach out and just like, hey, I have this person, my family member is a service member. He's dealing with this, and that, and I'm not sure how to go about the situation, what I have to provide or what documentation. And it's just like just giving them a breakdown. It's just like, all right, you need to make a list of what are the issues. What is everything going there? Do you have documentation providing that it happened to you? Do you have a diagnosis for these issues? Stuff like that. That's where you got to start and make sure. Making sure it's just that you know everything that you are going to claim is what you need to start. If you have medical records, if you don't have medical records, if you can obtain your medical records from the military, um, which I forget the process. I need to probably make a video for that too. And just basically, excuse me, this is how you provide your medical records. Some they have them, some they don't. If you never went to sick call or never went to get seen, it makes it a bit more difficult. But at the same time, you can still have documentation and you should still have issues, because most of the time, certain issues the military knows they cause it. Nobody leaves the military 100%. They might claim they do. Everybody, there's a lot of people that are just like, oh, very prideful, and I'm not hurt or stuff like that. But down the road, the shit starts catching up and your body starts breaking down slowly. And it's just like, it wouldn't have been doing that if it weren't for the military. But it happens. Not everybody files at the same time. Not everybody goes through the process at the same time. But it's just understanding that, hey, you have the ability to get benefits, entitlements, tax exemptions, and stuff like that. And that's something that'll benefit you, but you are the one that has to make sure that you're doing the due diligence and the due process to make sure that you are okay. And that's the thing. If you're not doing that, that's where you fall into those issues. You got to make sure that you are educating yourself and learning what it is that you're filing for. And like I said, the Code of Federal Regulations, this basically highlights all of that. And it gives you a breakdown, the table of contents. This is how it breaks it down. This is just a general policy and rating, so it gives you the explanation of a bunch of the stuff, and then it breaks it down by the disability ratings. So the musculoskeletal system, and it gives you a breakdown of all the things there. Organs of special sense gives you a breakdown. Auditory breakdown. Infectious diseases, immune disorders, and nutritional deficiencies, a breakdown. The respiratory system. Oh damn, I ain't even showing that. Hold on. We'll go back. So basically, like I said, the 38 CFR, it basically shows you the enhanced content table of content. So schedule of ratings, disabilities. It gives you a breakdown of all the stuff, age and service connected claims, all that stuff, rating aggravated by active service, and it has that breakdown for you, and it gives you an explanation of what it is. Then it breaks down to what the actual ratings are for each criteria. So you got the musculoskeletal system, which is basically anything joint wise, stuff like that. dealing with muscles and other sort. Organs of special sense, auditory, infectious diseases, immune disorders, nutritional deficiencies, the respiratory system, cardiovascular system, digestive system, uh, genitourinary system. I don't even know what the hell that one is. Gynecological, gynecological conditions and disorders of the breast. So for women, for female veterans, the hematology and lymphatic systems, lymph nodes and stuff like that. Your skin, endocrine system, neurological conditions, mental disorders, dental and oral conditions. That's all broken down, and it will tell you what it is that gives you what criteria to receive what rating for what illness. So if you have mental health issues, remember that mental health issues all get joined up into one thing. So if you deal with depression, anxiety, insomnia, all that stuff, it interferes with it and it becomes one rating. Sleep apnea is separate, migraines is separate, each joint is separate. Each one of your fingers can be claimed for 10% through arthritis of your hands. That's 100% separately within your fingers, but 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. So all those fingers add up. That 10%. And then it's just also knowing how the calculation goes when it comes to VA math. Because VA math is not a straightforward, it is not straightforward, and it's not just out there, and it's not just gonna populate for you. So that's something that you have to make sure that you're showing and that it's visible for you, and that's mostly it. Yeah, because a lot of times that won't highlight and it won't showcase, but that's something that you need to make sure that is there. Hold on, let me see. So that's there that you just have to keep in mind. There's it's not impossible for veterans to do it. It's just it's a longer process to get veterans to get their information the correct way, because not everything is plain in sight, and you have to make sure that you're taking the time to get this information, look into these things, and develop the plan that you need to in order to succeed and get your disability ratings correctly filed. Your mentality goes a long way when it comes to dealing with the VA. The VA is not going to go out of the way or above and beyond to make sure that your disability claim is correct. They're not going to make sure to reach out to you, be like, hey, did you mean to put this in there, or did you not mean to put this in there? Did you have anything? They're not going to do that. That's on you to go above and beyond into your disability claim, your documentation. You got imagery, buddy statements, your own statement, like all that stuff. That's what's important, to make sure that you highlight that so that you have that information in there, because that's what's going to help you in the long run. Otherwise, yeah, it's going to be hard, because, and like I said, a lot of times you're going to be able to provide that information and the VA is still going to say no. The VA is still going to deny it, or the VA is still going to do it. But the thing is what a lot of veterans don't understand is just like they lose out on a lot of back pay because of the fact that they refile the same issue instead of actually appealing it. The appeal process may take a longer time, but that appeal process goes further because of the fact that it's just like, hey, it goes off of the file to intent date. Intent to file date, I mean, I said that backwards. So basically, let's say if your claim gets submitted today, or you go onto the va.gov and you file an intent to claim, it'll be on August 25th of 2024. That is good until August 25th of 2025. So it gives you a whole year to submit your documentation or whatever the case may be. And they base it off of you submitting that August 25. So you can submit it 3 months from now when you get all your documentation together and stuff like that. They're still going to go off of it as if it was created on August 25th of 2024. Now you might submit it 3 months later, and then you don't get it till 9 months later. If it comes back to the point where it's just like, hey, you are at 100%, they're gonna back pay you to August 25th of 2024 and back pay you till that amount, and then you'll continue receiving your payments. So that's the one thing that people don't understand, because a lot of people will just go ahead and refile. If you refile, you're basically starting a new clock on your disability claims. It's not going to be the same number. It's going to be, oh, you filed 9 months from now. So their first date and your official day of these claims is 9 months from now. So that's something that people don't understand. And they get disheartened when they get denied for something. And it's just like I said, the VA makes mistakes. We make mistakes. The VSOs make mistakes. It's just making sure that those mistakes aren't there, and you provide proof without a doubt that, hey, my information is correct. What I submitted is perfect. It shows everything. It has the information and stuff like that. So that's what people need to make sure that they're understanding and they're highlighting when it comes to filing. But like I said, if you got any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I will guide you in the best way using the actual regulations and the information provided for you to be able to file these claims and get them processed, or just get them done. That's the best thing I can do. There's no set thing, there's no sure thing, but all this information is basically available to you. So that's why it's like you don't have to go to outside entities and pay for it. You can go to a VSO, which is free of charge. If you want to go to a lawyer, hey, you can go to a lawyer. It's on you. I don't specify where people go or what they need to do with it. It all depends. All depends on what you want to do. Like if you want to go and talk to a lawyer and have them file it for you, make sure that these lawyers are not trying to get you to pay throughout the rest of your life on their assistance. For those of us veterans who are concerned or do not believe that they deserve a rating, think about things in this manner. While in service, you protected this country. Now that you are out, keep that same mentality, but now it's time for you to take care of yourself and your family. Besides, whatever federal benefits VA, most states will add additional state benefits. Yes, and that I have done. A lot of my other videos, a lot of my first workshops were on property tax exemptions for each state. I do have a, give me a second so I can pull it up. I do have a worksheet that I'm working on, which I need to get back on. Let me showcase it for you. Give me 1 second. I got this here. So this is my veteran information breakdown. So literally with this information, it's just gives you what state it is. So you can see the states. You can see the representatives. So if you have a Senate committee representative, a House representative committee, I have their information, their contacting link or the contacting page. I even have the Twitter handles if y'all use Twitter. But like the first thing I was doing mostly was the property tax exemptions. I stopped at, I think it was like Ohio. Still got a bunch to do, but I did that. Basically a way to find the accredited VSOs, highlighted that. The VA health locations, urgent care locations, emergency care locations, in case anybody just needed to like go and find something real quick. And I started also putting like veteran homes in there. I'll be putting in the hunting and fishing licenses because some states provide hunting and fishing licenses. Some provide license plates. Some give you the military retired pay exemptions, so you don't pay any taxes on your retirement pay. Some states you don't have property taxes get removed, or a portion of it gets removed depending what it is. Some have educational benefits where, like, I believe the state of New Jersey, it was just like a veteran spouse is able to go to school, or Texas has a bunch of the stuff. Each state has their own benefits. So you have your VA benefits, which is basically health care, compensation. If you get once you get to 100% P&T, you get Chant VA, which is basically a secondary insurance that if you already have a primary insurance, it's like you have free healthcare kind of. Not exactly free healthcare, but it's basically free healthcare because if your primary insurance covers you, then your secondary insurance covers you through Chant VA. Yes, and that's what I say. And what I say, Vasquez, with that is make sure not to file again. If you disagree, appeal it. And if you have that extra documentation that would show why it was, appeal it because you can provide further information. Because most of the time, when you do that appeal, it's either, hey, I already have the documentation I have, and what's in there is what I'm going off of. And then there's times where it's just like, okay, this is stuff that I added that, oh, I didn't realize I needed to add. So I'm adding this on top of my appeal. And now it shows you why this is what happened. Um, and also, you got to remember some of these CMP exams, they might not do it correctly. So you can file a complaint against that for a CMP examiner not doing the right process or not having the little angle thing that shows like your bending capability and all that stuff. That's stuff that you can make note of and you can file a claim for and file a complaint about. Those are different things. There's just like a lot of information that a lot of veterans don't know. But when it comes to state taxes, state benefits, each state is different. Each state is created differently. Some are very beneficial, like the states of Texas and Florida are, from the research I've done so far, one of the top two best states for a veteran to either retire in or live in because of the fact that they don't pay the property tax exemptions, the retirement pay exemptions, no state taxes, stuff like that. It's just like depending on where you live, it can benefit you and it could change that. Um, some states have stuff, some don't. With the state of Alabama, you can go to, if you provided and got your higher education, which I believe is like you got your own bachelor's, you can go through a program that basically will certify you to be a teacher in the Alabama school system just because you having your bachelor's. So it's just like each state has certain things like that that is just like little to known stuff, like national parks, designated license plates, stuff like that. Is just you have to check it. There's also a website that does that. Let me see where it's at. Where'd I put it? And you can go to, so here it is. You have this site. So this one is the My Air Force benefits. It doesn't matter if you're Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, whatever it is. Each one of these has it. Each one of them has their own usable thing. So the Marines, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, Space Force, Army, all of them have one of these sites, and it's basically my Air Force benefits or my Army benefits, my Coast Guard benefits, and it'll go down and it'll give you a breakdown. So I'm in the state of Kansas. State taxes, education benefits, employment benefits, unemployment insurance, division of vehicles benefits, health insurance benefits, parks and recreation, miscellaneous benefits, U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs facilities, Kansas Military Resource Locator, and just separate resources. And it'll give you a breakdown of all the things you have, all those different benefits. Most of them are pretty good because it gives you the entitlements also, but it breaks it down and then it provides the link for you to go to that link and find the information you need. So each state has that. So each state is different, but there's a ton of benefits that you can benefit from. And like I said, some of them are benefits that go to your spouse or your dependents. Some of it is for like surviving spouses and surviving dependents. If the service member passes away through a service connected issue, which would be the indemnity payments that they would receive. And then sometimes when it comes to like the property taxes, they're able to obtain it and use the same thing too, depending on what state you are. So there's a bunch of stuff that's out there. There's a lot of information that's out there for veterans to obtain, use, take advantage of. Is just knowing where to find them, knowing where to get them, knowing how to get to them is the thing that a lot of people run into these issues. But like I said, here I try to just provide that information and try to get that to you so that way you have it on there. And also when I do these streams, I do them on mobile and I do them on regular PC or on your TV. So basically, if you're viewing this and you're watching this now, you can watch it on your TV, which will show my full screen mode. Or if you're watching it on your phone, it is on a smaller phone. So you'll be able to see a lot of the stuff better. If you view it on the regular channel, like on the regular YouTube, or if you're viewing it on mobile, you can view it that way. So you can see it on both ways. Yeah, see, and that's like that. See, so that's why I work on that worksheet, Vasquez, because I'm trying to get that info out. Because like I said, for a child of a disabled veteran to get community college, state university, or university, their fees waived, that's a very big benefit when it comes to a family member. That's not having those out of pocket costs for a secondary education. That goes a long way when it comes to assisting your family and helping your family grow because of the fact that, hey, you don't have to worry about these issues. Not having to worry about school loans is a big change for anybody. Look at the issue that we're dealing with this country now, where it's just like school loans are such a big thing. And it's just like, even after you pay it off with interest and stuff, you still got to pay some more. So not having to pay for those fees, it goes a long way. That's extra money in the pocket that can be used elsewhere on your kids' benefits or your kids' tuition or buying them stuff. Yes, with the chapter 35 though, the thing is you have to be 100% PNT. That's the only stipulation with the chapter 35. The dependents education assistance program. You basically have to be 100% PNT, and basically your spouse or your kids basically receive a monthly stipend, which right now the monthly stipend is about 50, it's close to $1,500. It's not 15, but it's like close to it. $1,500 a month if you are full time. If you are part time, I believe you get, depending on how part time you are, if you're half, I think it's like 900 something. If you're just like taking a class or something, it's like 300 something, or something like that. But that's a monthly stipend you get. A lot of people don't know that even your 18-year-old can get it once they turn 18, or their last year of high school. There's certain requirements, but they can start receiving that their last year of high school also. Not totally in there, but it's just like there's certain stipulations for it. But as an 18-year-old going still in high school, you can still receive a monthly stipend, because you're dependent and your parent was basically a disabled 100% PNT service member. So things like that. The DEA program is good. The VRE program, the vocational rehabilitation, or no, the veteran readiness employment, because they changed it. Used to be the vocational rehabilitation and employment program, is now the veteran readiness and employment program, which basically it assists you, which is basically kind of like another GI Bill if you use it correctly. So when you're looking for employment and stuff like that, you can use that to your advantage, because basically they will pay for you to go to school when it comes to a trade craft, or even to get a degree which will benefit you in getting a certain employment. There are stuff that you have to talk to a counselor about, basically saying like why you want to use the program, like what's the employment going to be, what are you going to gain from that, and then you can use that also. They also give you a BAH monthly, and they pay for your school. So if you want to become an electrician, you can use that and they will pay for it to go through. Yeah, name change, but same thing. But that's another thing that most people don't know about doing. I have a friend of mine that I think they've done like 8 years worth of school through that, because they use their GI benefit, they use their GI Bill. But within the GI Bill, what happened is that you can use your VRE. So in some cases, if you use the GI Bill and you have at least 1 day left and you apply for the VRE, they see to it that you should have been using your VRE instead of your GI Bill to do that program, or get that benefit. And they sometimes reimburse your whole GI Bill back. So literally you just got another 3 years of schooling. So that's what my friend did. Basically, he did the Yes, because they wanna make sure that it's for a reason. So if just like, hey, you used to doing heavy lifting, you wanted to be a damn UPS driver or delivery person, but you can't be. I'm not sure if I just got kicked or not. Like, what the hell just happened? I think my stream like connected and disconnected all in one shot. That was weird. Yeah, it did get kicked. Interesting. Like for some reason my server disconnected me. Okay, we back now, but it somehow like ended it, and then it's the first time that's ever happened. But yeah, that's mostly it. Then that's probably my timing now to basically end the stream soon. Um, Hey, Jay Vasquez, thank you for tuning in, and thanks for also spreading the knowledge, and and just keep on doing it. Like I said, if it comes down to it, make your own channel, man. The more information we can get out the vets, the better. And so, but I appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you. Hope to see you next week. Um, but yeah, I'm going to call it. I think I'm gonna call it also. Just basically, we will do this like I said. We do this every week. Every week we do these streams. Sundays, 12 noon Central Time. So East Coast is 1, West Coast is like 11 10. Um but this is what we do. We do this every week, every Sunday, just to assist veterans. Like I said, if you have certain questions pertaining to disability, questions about entitlements, questions about spouse or dependent benefits, um just bring them on in, ask questions, try to provide the best information you can from it, so it's easier for me to look into what it is, and I will pop it up on screen and showcase it. Also, like I said, I do stream on both platforms. I'm on YouTube, but some people are finding me through the mobile phone where I'm streaming off of mobile, and some people are finding me on the regular stream, which is my TV PC stream. So I do it on both simultaneously. So if there's a instance or something where it's just like, hey, you have a certain question and I'm showing you the documentation or something like that, and you can't see it, you'll be able to see it better on my full screen mode than you would on the vertical mode, which is on your phone, or vice versa, depending on what it is. I try to make it as large as possible to showcase it, like how it is here. I believe people can see that, but if they don't, they would be able to switch over to the main live, and that will show on full screen basically. So you'll be able to see it a bit better, and it's not a closed in picture for it. But that's mostly it. So like I said, we do this every Sunday. Thanks for everybody that tuned in, everybody that joined, anybody that gave advice or information. The more we can do this, the better we can assist veterans and just helping them making their disability claims, helping them benefit themselves and their families, and educating them in the long run to provide a better service for themselves and their families. So as I always like to say, be good to one another, take care of one another, look out for one another, love one another, and y'all stay marvelous. Just Cruise, and then this week's Veterans Workshop. I appreciate everybody that tuned in. Y'all take care. Have a great week. We'll do a little pop up stream sometime throughout the week. Little late night veteran hangout, and we'll go from there. But appreciate y'all. Y'all take care. Cruise out. Peace.